Hello Internet, I'm KrissieDeathy, and today I'm going to read you guys the fourth chapter of Grandpa's Way by Anya Vicky. Again, link to read story is in the description below. Chapter 4, Thinking About It. Yu-Gi-Oh laid her head on the pillow, sighing. Why things had gotten so complicated was beyond her. Burping. Pardon me. All she knew was that she was supposed to marry Ranma, and no other, since she was 6 years old. That had been the only constant in her entire life. Well, actually, it was to read in her honor, and that she could do by either marrying him or defeating him in battle. Grudgingly admitting that she couldn't win a fight against him, she settled for the marriage. Now, 12 years later, her father comes and tells her that she has to marry another man, that jackass no less, and that her past 12 years chasing Ranma while the killer marrying him were a waste of time. And the reason was that he forgot she was already engaged in the first place. It was as simple as that. Why is this happening to me? Fine, we'll call it off. But at least have enough heart to let me be with them for one more day, then you can be happy. Ryoga's last words echoed in her head. He didn't understand. How could she throw 12 years of her life to the wind because of a stupid mistake? All she fought for, all the training, all the search, living alone, away from home, promising her mother she will grant her her last wish, learning to survive on the street when she was, 7, 8 years old? All she did, was it really for nothing? How could she quit now? Ryoga didn't understand. All he did in life was getting lost. Walk through forests day and night, and train in the mountains to fight Ranma, living in his tent almost alone since he was a little child. I want my family back. Okay, maybe he didn't understand, she grudgingly admitted. Ryoga sat in bed, unable to rest. How could she do this to him? Hadn't she had a heart at all? I miss my family too, but that's not enough reason to spend the rest of my life with you instead of Ranma. Of course, how could she possibly think of choosing him instead of mighty precious Ranma? Ryoga sneered. He wasn't all that, you know. It wasn't like he wanted to marry that tomboy, actually, but the idea of not getting lost, having a home, and a loving family was too hard to resist. Even if he had to spend his life with that heartless tomboy, Ryoga hated to admit it, but that night he actually had thought a little about marrying her. He knew she was gentle, sweet, caring, and could make a man happy. He seen it in the way she treated Ranma, and for a minute or two he pictured himself in that position, getting all her attention and love. He liked it, and the faint hope that he could try and make her happy, that he could have all he ever wanted in life, his family, his home, a loving wife, started to build up in his heart, even if it was that tomboy. But after what happened at dinner, his world fell apart once again. How could he possibly think that a girl would want him? He'd been delusional. Sure, if he'd married her, he'd gain his sense of direction. But there was still the pig. She'll never like the pig. Why does life have to be so unfair? Hana creaked the door open and called softly to her granddaughter. Honey, are you awake? Yukia stirred a little and looked at her through foggy eyes. Granny, time to rise, dear. What time is it? It's past 9 already. This made the youth bolt out of bed. What? She jumped to the bathroom and started to put her chef's outfit on. I'm an hour and a half late. Why didn't you wake me up? I've missed the breakfast rush. Saturdays are always full, Granny. Oh, but dear, your father already took care of that. Yukio froze, her pants halfway through her legs. What? He's taking care of the restaurant until you come back, Hana clarified. Until I come back from where? She asked, dreadful. Hana paled slightly. Then she pinched the bridge of her nose, probably fighting a headache. I assume you didn't have a little chat with your father last night after we arrived home? Yukio shook her head no. What was going on? You see, dear, when you and Ryoga went to get the ice cream, your father and Kita had this idea. She said in this weird tone. Was she being sarcastic? Aiko and I were in the kitchen cleaning up the mess, and they talked to your grandfather. Apparently, they convinced him because he was so excited about it. You know how Akira is. Grandma, what are you trying to get at? Why don't you put on some nice clothes we picked up yesterday, dear? Aiko's waiting for us downstairs. We'll have breakfast together. Really? Okay, I guess. The cafe was warm, a cozy atmosphere engulfing the three generations, sitting on a little table next to the window. Even if Yukio wasn't used to talk about women stuff, especially with the adding of her grandma's naughty comments, she was really enjoying herself until Mrs. Ibiki dropped a bomb. So, Yukio, are you ready to move in with us? The long, wide-eyed look the girl gave to Aiko made her gasp. You didn't know, dear? I'm afraid that her father, for some reason, didn't communicate their decision to her last night, Hana rolled her eyes. I see, Aiko sighed, exasperated. Honestly, Ichiro hadn't changed one little bit. Move in with... Well, as I told you earlier, dear, that's what they decided last night. You know your grandfather is the only one who has the last word on the matter, and he said yes. Based on what grounds? The younger one asked with a thick voice. So you can finish high school, and you don't have to worry about the restaurant. And since you've never had a woman's influence in your life, you'll learn to be a proper wife like Aiko is. And you'll learn to get along with your fiancé, Mrs. Hibiki added. And you didn't have enough decency to ask me first? Let me remind you, hon, that it wasn't our decision. We were told afterwards. It's not us who you should be arguing with, Hana reprimanded. I know, I'm sorry, she deflated. It's just everything's happening so soon, I feel like I have no grip on the situation. She shook her head. You'll be fine, sweetie. Ryoga's not a bad boy. You'll like him eventually. Sooner than you think, Aiko smiled to herself. But I don't want to give up my restaurant, she protested, suddenly remembering what had been said. You won't, dear. Your father and I will take care of it. After all, it's what we do, she smiled. Yukio felt deflated. What about him? Doesn't he have to finish high school too? Does he even go to school? She piped in, suddenly angry at Ryoga's lack of sacrifice in the matter. He was getting a better life, and they were wrecking hers. No, Ryoga finished high school a few months ago. We had this little agreement with the institution. They knew about our problem and gladly helped us. They used to mail home his assignments and books, and he would take the test whenever he showed up to school. They were really understanding about his condition, Aiko explained, proud. The cute chef just sat there, unable to utter a word. Was there anything she could use against him to get out of the situation? Who was he, Mr. Perfect? So let's go back and help you pack, okay? Yuki only nodded. Can this get any worse? And that is the end of chapter 4. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a short chapter. Again, link in the description below. Feel free to leave your comments and any suggestions for future stories to be read. Thank you all so much for listening. Bye bye.